It was a cold and quiet night. Jack sat on his old wooden chair, sipping hot tea, watching the wind move the trees outside his farmhouse. He lived alone, far away from the city, surrounded by open fields and forests. It was peaceful most nights. But something felt strange tonight. The wind was sharp, but it wasn't the wind that made him uneasy. His dog Max barked twice and ran to the back door. Jack stood up, confused. Max never barked unless something was wrong. Jack grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The air was still, but the garden was not. His flashlight moved across the rows of vegetables, and there someone was crouching near the carrots. Jack's heart jumped. "Who's there?" He shouted. The figure turned slowly. It was a woman, but not like any woman Jack had seen before. Her skin was pale gray and glowing slightly under the moonlight. Her hair was silver and thin, and her clothes were torn and dirty. She held a few carrots and potatoes in her arms like they were treasure. Jack stared, frozen in shock. The woman didn't run. Instead, she dropped to her knees. Her voice was soft and broken. "Please, don't hurt me. My children are hungry." Jack stepped back, confused and scared. Was this some kind of joke? Was she wearing makeup? A costume? But then he saw her eyes, bright, silver, and not human. They looked deep, tired, and full of pain. "I don't want to steal," she said, "but I have no choice." Jack looked at her thin arms and trembling fingers. She was weak, cold, and alone. "Where are you from?" Jack asked, still unsure if he should call the police. She looked up, and fear filled her face. "They are looking for me," she whispered. Jack heard a strange buzzing noise in the sky. He looked up but saw nothing. The sound faded quickly. She stood slowly and said, "They must not find me." Jack didn't know what to think. An alien? Here? In his garden? This wasn't a movie. It was real. And the woman in front of him didn't look like a threat. She looked like a mother trying to survive. He lowered his flashlight and said, "Come inside, before someone sees you." The woman hesitated, but then nodded slowly. Max barked again but didn't growl. Even the dog felt she wasn't dangerous. Jack led her to the small wooden shed behind his house. It was dry and warm enough to keep her safe for now. He gave her a blanket and some water. She sat down, holding the vegetables close to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't want trouble." Jack nodded. "I just want answers," he said. "Who are you really?" The woman stayed silent for a moment. Then she opened her hand. Inside it was a small silver device with blinking lights. "This is the only thing I have left from my ship," she said. "I crashed 2 nights ago. Not far from here." Jack leaned closer. "A spaceship?" He asked in disbelief. She nodded. "Yes, and my children are hiding in the forest." Jack's eyes widened. "Children?" She nodded again. "They are small, scared, and need food." He felt something change inside him. He was a farmer. Not a soldier, not a hero, but looking at her, he felt like he needed to help. He couldn't turn his back. "Why are you being chased?" he asked. Before she could answer, the buzzing sound returned, this time louder, clearer. She stood up quickly, eyes wide. "They found me," she said in a panic. Jack peeked through the shed window. In the far sky, a red blinking light hovered for a second, then vanished. His heart raced. This was bigger than he thought, way bigger. He looked at the woman and said, "Don't worry. You're safe here for now." But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Something dangerous had arrived with her, and Jack's quiet life was about to change forever. The night was quiet again, but Jack's mind was loud. He had just hidden an alien in his garden shed. He sat in his kitchen, staring at the old radio, wondering what to do next. Max lay near his feet, ears twitching. Sensing Jack's stress, a woman from another world was outside, cold and alone, and she wasn't the only one. Her children were out there too, hiding in the woods. Jack stood up, grabbed a basket of food, and stepped into the darkness. The shed was quiet when he opened the door. The alien woman sat in a corner, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked up with tired eyes when he entered. "I brought you food." Jack said softly. Her hands shook as she reached for a piece of bread. Thank you, she whispered. This means more than you know. Jack sat down on a wooden crate. You said your children are in the forest? He asked. She nodded, chewing slowly. Yes. I made them a shelter underground, but they are weak. Are they like you? He asked. She looked at him carefully, then said, smaller, younger, but yes. Jack took a deep breath. Look, I need to understand what's happening, he said. I've seen a lot in my life, but nothing like this. She nodded slowly and took out the small silver device from her pocket again. She placed it on the floor, and it glowed with a soft blue light. A small image floated above it, a moving hologram of a burning sky and falling ships. This was my world, she said, her voice breaking. A peaceful place, full of life and light. The image shifted tall towers, green skies, children running through glowing fields. Then suddenly, darkness, explosions, war. Who did this? Jack asked, his voice low. A powerful empire, she said. They wanted control, and we refused. She pointed at a glowing mark on her arm, barely visible in the dark. I was part of the royal guard, she said. We fought to protect our people. Her voice grew distant, like she was remembering a nightmare. They came without warning. They destroyed our cities, took our leaders, and hunted the rest. Jack listened without interrupting. This wasn't just some crash landing. She had escaped a war with her children. How did you get here? He asked. She looked at the hologram, which now showed a small ship flying through space. I stole a scout ship and used old coordinates we had stored. Earth was one of them. It was a desperate choice, she said, but it was the only chance. Jack looked at the device again, amazed. And that thing, it still works? Only this part, she said. It records memory, nothing else. The rest of the ship is broken, hidden deep underground. Jack felt a strange chill. A broken alien ship, hidden in his forest. This was bigger than he ever imagined. Suddenly, Max barked from the house. Jack stood up quickly, heart pounding. What is it? She asked. I don't know. Stay here, Jack said, and ran toward the house. In the sky above his field, a silent drone floated for a moment, then zipped away. Jack stared at it, breath heavy. Someone was watching. He returned to the shed, locking the door behind him. You were right, he said. They're looking for you. She stood slowly, fear in her eyes. If they find my children, they'll take them away or worse. Jack didn't know why, but he felt something inside him grow. Not fear, but a strange kind of courage. You can't stay in the shed forever, he said. We'll bring your children here. Her eyes widened. You'd help me? Jack nodded. I don't understand everything yet, but I do understand one thing: hungry children don't deserve to suffer. She placed a hand on his arm, her fingers cold and light. Thank you, Jack, she said. I never thought I would find kindness here. That night, Jack walked with her through the dark woods. They reached a hidden spot under a hill. She pressed her hand into the ground, and a small door opened. Inside were two small alien children, with glowing eyes and frightened faces. When they saw her, they ran into her arms. Jack watched silently, his heart heavy. These weren't monsters. They were a mother and her children, running from war, and somehow, their lives were now tied to his. The morning sky was gray, with soft clouds hiding the sun. Jack stood outside the hidden door in the forest hill, heart pounding. He had followed the alien woman deep into the woods, and now he was about to meet her children. He didn't know what to expect. Were they dangerous, strange, or even real? But when the door opened, what he saw stopped him cold. Inside the small underground space were two small children. They looked up with wide silver eyes, their faces pale and glowing slightly. Their skin had a soft shimmer, like light bouncing off water. They were thin, wrapped in dark cloth, and holding each other tightly. The moment they saw their mother, they ran into her arms without a sound. She knelt down, whispering softly in her own language, words that sounded like music and sadness. Jack didn't move. He just watched, unsure. yet strangely moved. They were scared, but not of him. They were scared of the world outside. "These are my children," the woman said. Turning to Jack, "This is Elia and this is Rin." Jack nodded slowly. The little girl, Elia, peeked at him from behind her mother's shoulder. Her eyes shimmered like moonlight. And then she smiled a small, curious smile. Rin, the younger one, held something in his hand, a broken toy made from scraps of their ship. Jack noticed it blinked softly, giving off tiny sparks. "He builds things," the mother said. "Even now he remembers our sky." Jack took a step closer and knelt down. "Hello," he said quietly. Rin tilted his head, curious, then reached out and touched Jack's coat. "It's warm," Rin said, in perfect English. Jack blinked, surprised. "You speak English?" The mother nodded. They learned fast. Back at the farmhouse, Jack made space in the old basement. He laid down blankets, brought food, and covered the windows. No one would find them here, not easily. The children stayed close to their mother, too afraid to move freely. But little by little, they began to smile. Jack brought them soup. He gave them an old teddy bear. Rin tried to fix its torn leg using small tools from the shed. Elia found an old picture book and stared at the drawings for hours. They didn't laugh yet, but they were healing. One evening, Jack found Rin sitting near the fireplace. His hands hovered over the fire, not touching it, but playing with the air. Small sparks floated around his fingers like fireflies dancing in rhythm. Jack stared in silence. "Is that ... normal?" he asked. The mother nodded. "On our world, every child has a gift," she said. "They don't know how to control it yet, but they will." Jack realized then, these children were not just alien, they were powerful, but innocent. He felt a sudden weight on his shoulders. He wasn't just hiding them, he was protecting something rare, something hunted that night. Jack heard a low hum outside. He turned off all the lights and grabbed his binoculars. Across the hill, just beyond the trees, a strange light flickered. Not a car, not a plane, something else. The same red pulse he had seen before. "They're getting closer," he whispered. He rushed to the basement. The mother stood ready, holding the children close. "We must move soon," she said. "They are scanning this area." Jack clenched his jaw. "No one's taking you. Not while I'm still breathing." Suddenly, Elia stepped forward, holding her hands out. In her palms, small glowing shapes formed like tiny stars spinning in silence. "Papa said stars mean hope," she said. Jack looked at her, stunned. "You remember your father?" he asked gently. She nodded. "He said someone on Earth would help us." Jack's chest tightened. He had no idea what kind of battle was coming, but somehow he had become their hope, a quiet farmer, now standing between these children and the shadows hunting them. Outside, the wind picked up. The sky whispered secrets in a strange hum. And somewhere beyond the clouds, something watched, waiting. But inside that little farmhouse, hidden beneath old wood and dust, 3 alien hearts beat softly, and 1 human heart beat louder, ready to protect them all. The wind changed that evening. It carried a strange chill, like the air itself was warning Jack. He stood on his porch, staring into the sky. The sun had set, but the clouds above still glowed with a faint red. Too red, too unnatural. Max growled low from the steps. He never growled unless something was coming. Jack reached for his old binoculars and scanned the hills. There, just for a second, he saw it. A shape floating silently above the trees. Dark, round, smooth, with red lights blinking around its edge. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't from Earth. It hovered like it was listening, watching, hunting. Then, just as quietly, it vanished behind the tree line. Jack ran back inside. In the basement, the alien woman was sitting with her children. They were playing with tiny glowing pebbles pieces from their ship. He slammed the door behind him, breath fast. "They're here," he said. "They found this place." The mother stood, calm but alert. "I felt it," she said. "Their scanners passed through me." Jack looked confused. "You can feel scanners?" She nodded. "We are connected to them. like prey feeling the hunter's breath. Elia and Rin clung to her legs, their silver eyes wide. "We can't stay here," Jack said. "If they send a team, they'll search the whole property." The woman nodded. "But we cannot run either, not yet." She turned to the children and spoke a few words in her native language. The pebbles in their hands stopped glowing. The game was over. Later that night, Jack brought them up from the basement. He led them to the barn, an old wooden structure he hadn't used in years. It smelled of hay and thyme, but it had thick walls and a hidden cellar. "This might buy us time," he said. The woman placed her hand on the barn wall and closed her eyes. "Good," she whispered. "It's quiet here." That's when they heard it. A soft crackle in the sky. Like thunder without sound. Jack ran outside and looked up. A dark ship appeared above the treetops, triangular, smooth, silent, not crashing, not landing. Just watching. Suddenly, a thin blue beam shot from its underside, scanning the forest. It moved like a searchlight, brushing the trees and grass. When it reached the farmhouse, Jack held his breath, but the beam paused, blinked, and moved on, in. The barn, the woman held her children close. Elia looked up at her. "Is it the bad ones?" "Yes," she whispered, "but we're not alone anymore." She looked at Jack with something like hope and trust, but Jack knew hope wasn't enough. He grabbed the rifle from the old barn wall. It hadn't been used in years, but it still worked. "I don't know how to fight spaceships," he said, "but I know how to protect what's mine." Max barked loudly, running toward the trees. A dark figure moved in the shadows near the edge of the field. Tall, thin, armor shining under the moonlight. An alien bounty hunter had landed, and he was walking straight toward the house. Jack didn't wait. He ran to the side, staying low, using the tall grass for cover. When the hunter reached the porch, Jack fired a warning shot. The bullet hit the ground near its feet. The creature turned its head slowly. Its face was a silver mask with glowing red lines. It raised a strange weapon, but Jack fired again, this time hitting its shoulder. The creature let out a sharp screech, then disappeared in a blink of red light. Gone, but not defeated, back in the barn. The woman looked at Jack. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did," Jack replied. "Because you're not just visitors anymore. You're family now." The sky stayed quiet the rest of the night, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. The Empire had found their scent, and they would come again, stronger, next time. They wouldn't send just one, but Jack wasn't the same man anymore. He was no longer just a farmer. He had something worth protecting, and he had already fired the first shot. The morning came slowly, not with sunshine, but with gray clouds and silence. Jack sat in the barn, his rifle across his knees, eyes heavy with no sleep. The children were finally resting, curled up together under a blanket of old quilts. The woman sat near the window, her eyes fixed on the sky. She had been quiet since the attack. Jack looked at her, noticing the deep lines around her eyes, not wrinkles from age, but from sorrow. He knew she was hiding something, not just pain, but a truth too heavy to carry alone, and maybe now was the time to speak it. He broke the silence. "Who are you really?" he asked. "Not just a refugee, not just a mother. There's more to you." She didn't look at him at first. Instead, she reached into her cloth belt and pulled out a small piece of metal. It looked like a coin, but as she touched its center, it glowed. A symbol appeared, an ancient crest of a star within a circle, surrounded by tiny alien letters. "This was once worn on my armor," she said, her voice soft. "I was called Commander Varel of the Skyborn Guard." Jack blinked. "A soldier?" "A protector," she corrected. "But more than that." She turned to face him fully. "My real name is Varela Marine of the House Elthera." Jack didn't understand the name, but it felt powerful when she said it. "I was heir to the throne of Ilion Prime," she said. "A planet lost in fire." Jack stood still, shocked. "You were a princess?" She nodded slowly. "I never wanted power. I only wanted peace." Her voice cracked as she looked at her children. But peace was not enough for the Empire. she said. They wanted control over the stars, and we refused to kneel. She walked to the center of the barn and knelt on the dusty floor with her fingers. She drew a circle with 7 points. This was our world, she said. Each point a region, each region a family, a life, a story. The empire came with lies, she said. They promised alliance, but brought destruction. They took my father, poisoned our air, shattered our moon, and sent hunters to erase the last of us. She looked up at Jack, her silver eyes glowing with old tears. My ship was not a ship of war, she said. It was an escape pod built for one. I rewired it for 3. Jack felt something heavy in his chest. You risked everything, he said. I was not the only one, she replied. My husband stayed behind to delay them, to give us time to flee. She walked to the barn door and opened it slightly, letting the light touch her face. I chose Earth because it was hidden, forgotten by most, but I remembered it from old maps. It was a planet of stories, of struggle, of hope. Jack looked out with her, the wind moving softly through the trees. And now those stories include you, he said. She smiled, just barely. I had hoped someone would help us, she said. I didn't expect a man with a quiet heart and an old dog. Jack chuckled, lightly wiping the corner of his eye. Yeah, well, life's full of surprises. At that moment, Rin stirred from his sleep, walking over with the silver coin in his hand. He held it up to his mother. Can I wear it? He asked. She knelt beside him and nodded. Yes, my son, she said. Because one day, you'll help rebuild what we lost. Outside, the sky darkened slightly. The air shifted again. Like the world was holding its breath. Jack knew the storm hadn't passed. It had only just begun. But now he understood what he was fighting for. Not just survival, but legacy, a future. Jack had never trusted phones much. But today, he turned one on. He scrolled past old contacts until he found a name he hadn't seen in years. Dr. Evelyn Cross. They had met in college. Back when Jack studied mechanical engineering, she had gone on to work for strange people in strange labs. Military contracts, private research, things Jack never understood, but she was smart, and more importantly, she was kind. He didn't call. He sent a message. I need help. No questions. Old code, Applestone. He waited, heart beating, staring out at the barn where the children slept. The reply came in under 3 minutes. Where and when? That night, Jack met her on the edge of an abandoned gas station. Evelyn stepped out of a black car wearing a heavy coat and tired eyes. Didn't think I'd hear from you again, she said. Jack looked around, making sure no one followed her. I wouldn't have called if it wasn't important, he said. I found someone back at the farm. Jack opened the barn doors and let her see for herself. Evelyn stepped inside, and for a moment, she said nothing. Her eyes scanned the children, the mother, the faint glow on their skin. Jack, she whispered. Do you know what you've done? I helped someone, he replied. That's all. Evelyn didn't scream or run. She didn't take photos or call backup. She sat down on a crate and took a deep breath. Then she looked at the alien woman and said, You're safe here. That was the beginning. Evelyn returned 2 days later with supplies, solar chargers, food, and medicine. She brought noise blockers to hide their energy signatures. She even brought toys. Elia giggled for the first time when she saw a small plastic kitten that meowed. Rin found a broken radio and tried to fix it using alien parts. Jack just stood in the doorway, watching them, smiling quietly. But help came in more ways than one. Jack's neighbor, old Mr. Willis, noticed strange lights in the barn one night. Instead of calling the cops, he came by the next morning with a basket of eggs. I don't know what you're hiding, he said softly, but I see the way you look out for it. Then he placed the basket in Jack's hands and walked away. Later that week, a local mechanic stopped by with a part Jack didn't ask for. I heard you're working on something old and strange, he said with a wink. Thought this might help. Jack nodded and accepted it. No questions asked, bit by bit. The town around him, the people he had known for years, began to show quiet support. No one asked anything directly, but kindness appeared like notes in the wind. One left extra groceries at his porch, one fixed his fence without saying a word, and one simply said, "Not all angels come from heaven." Before walking away, Varela watched it all in silence. One night, she sat beside Jack under the stars. "You were right," she said. "Your world still has good in it." Jack nodded. "We may not have spaceships or powers," he said, "but we've got people." But kindness didn't mean safety. One morning, Max barked at a black SUV parked at the edge of the field. Evelyn arrived minutes later, face pale. "They've started scanning rural zones," she said. "Satellite drones, heat sensors." Jack looked at the children playing with wooden blocks. He looked at the woman who had crossed the stars to save them, and then he said, "It's time to finish." The ship, down in the hidden forest chamber. Evelyn began helping Rin and Varela repair the pod. Jack brought wires, metal scraps, and even a car battery, piece by piece. The silver vessel began to shine again. Elia traced the old family symbol on the side, a sun wrapped in wings. "When it flies again," she whispered, "we'll remember Earth." Outside, thunder rolled across the distant hills, not from clouds, but from something flying low. And watching, they had helped, they had healed, but now it was time to let go, and to prepare for the storm that was already coming. The stars above the forest blinked gently. They looked peaceful, unaware that something was about to end, and something new was about to begin. The ship was almost ready. It rested quietly inside the forest chamber, like a silver seed waiting to rise. Its surface was smooth again, its lights glowing soft blue. Rin had fixed the core. Evelyn had repaired the guidance system, and Jack, with dirt on his hands and sweat on his shirt, had rebuilt the frame with pieces from a tractor engine. But time was running out. That morning, Evelyn arrived with grim news. "They know," she said, eyes tight. "A ship is coming, fast, large, not friendly." Jack looked at the children playing near the glowing roots of the forest tree. He didn't say anything, but he felt it something heavy, final and close. The alien woman, Varela, walked to him quietly. She already knew. "They found us," she whispered. "This is the end of hiding." They spent the rest of the day in silence. Jack fed the chickens one last time. He fixed the porch light, even though he knew no one would need it after today. He sat with Max under the tree and watched the sun set like it always did, slow, golden kind. That night, the sky cracked open. A massive dark ship entered Earth's airspace, silent but full of hunger. It hovered just above the trees, its lights scanning the ground like cold fingers. In the chamber, the alien ship came to life. Rin pressed the startup sequence. Elia clung to her teddy bear. Varela held their hands and looked at Jack. "It's time," she said. Jack nodded, then looked at Evelyn. "Can it fly high enough?" "It'll make orbit," she said, "if we give it a little help." Suddenly, Max growled. From the edge of the chamber, shadows moved, tall hunters in silver armor. They had found the signal. They were coming to take the last of House Elthera. Jack didn't wait. He grabbed the rifle and ran toward them, shouting loud, "This way! Over here!" He fired 3 times, making noise, drawing them toward him. Evelyn grabbed a flare and lit it, waving it in the opposite direction. The children climbed into the ship as Rin powered the core. Varela turned back for one last look. Jack stood at the edge of the trees, bleeding from a cut but smiling. "Go," he mouthed. Now, the ship rose slowly, blue light bursting from underneath. The hunters fired their weapons, but missed. One beam hit Jack's arm, knocking him down, but he laughed. "You missed." "The important part," he muttered. "You missed hope." Above the trees, the silver pod broke through the clouds. The dark enemy ship tried to follow, but it was too late. Rin's ship turned sharply, kicked its boosters, and vanished into the stars. Gone, safe, free. Hours passed. The enemy left, confused and beaten. Jack was found by Evelyn and taken home. He had lost blood, broken 2 ribs, and nearly lost his life. But he smiled in the hospital bed. "They made it," he whispered. "That's all that matters." A year passed, life went on. The world never knew what had happened in that little forest. But Jack did, Evelyn did, and so did the sky one quiet morning. Jack walked into his garden and saw something strange. A new plant had grown tall, blue, and glowing softly. It wasn't from Earth. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and gentle. Next to it was a small stone with strange writing. He picked it up and smiled. He couldn't read the words, but he didn't need to. He looked at the sky, then at Max. "They're alive," he said softly, "and they remember." Jack went back to planting seeds, not just for food, but for the future, because somewhere among the stars, a new world was growing, one that would always carry a piece of Earth with it, and a memory of the quiet farmer who said yes when the universe came knocking.